and welcome back to F1 Fanatics. I'm Mike, and today on our new feature show, we have a special guest with us, and he is Zach, or as I like to call him, El Stato. Zach, welcome to the show.
Hello, everybody.
So basically what we're going to do is we were looking at the YouTube scene, and there seems an awful lot of neglect towards F1 fantasy, and well, fantasy football is huge, so we're on a two-man mission to make F1 fantasy huge.
Absolutely. Yep.
What the F1 might be doing that because he has a really popular fantasy league, but he doesn't mention it in the videos. So we're going for this, or does he? Does he mention it? I can't.
No, he doesn't. Let's go.
He doesn't. Okay, we're good. This is a world exclusive with F1 Fanatics. So, El Stato, where shall we begin?
Well, let's begin with a little bit of a recap or a review of last race. Who got points and where? We'll start off with, well, where else do you start other than with the Mercedes? Another 1-2, so big points for both. And also, if you had the drivers, you would have also benefited from a streak in not just the race, but also the qualifying. So that's a nice 15 points extra on top of their total. So congratulations to everyone that owned them.
They were always going to get a streak.
Mm-hmm.
Their reliability has been insane this year.
Yeah.
Anyway, continue, Zach. Continue.
Exactly, and that's why I actually played my wild card last week to get them both in, and it paid off. But I also rolls on nicely to the next one. I also wild carded in Sebastian Vettel, who of course didn't finish in the top 10, so didn't get his streak and didn't get me back nice of a score.
8 points, wasn't he, this week?
Yep, was indeed, yeah. And that was thankfully stays in the positive because of the good qualifying. But yeah, so it could have been a lot worse. Well, I say good qualifying. It's only just a good qualifying because he finished in the top 10. But yeah, you would expect more really from Vettel.
He was out qualified by both Red Bulls, wasn't he?
He was indeed.
Pierre Gasly with his best weekend of the F1 calendar to date.
Yep. Pierre Gasly, absolutely fantastic. If you turboed him, brilliant.
Was he the turbo driver of the week?
I think he must have been, unless there's
it was him or Sainz, wasn't it? I feel he beat Sainz by about 6.
Yeah, you're probably right with that. I've already updated my streak leaderboard, so I'm not sure.
Oh, unbelievable. But we'll go with that. Okay, so Zach, so they were the kind of positives of the weekend of drivers. Obviously, Leclerc did well in third as well for the Ferraris. I have him in my team. He's been scoring me some good points recently. Who would you say were the big losers of the weekend?
Well, it has to be the Haas team, doesn't it? I thankfully for me, I wildcarded out Kevin Magnussen. Otherwise, that would have been a nasty negative points. And of course, it's the same for Romain Grosjean again as well. It gets worse and worse.
If you had Romain Grosjean this year from the start and you haven't been paying attention to your team, I'm really sorry for how that's affected your fantasy. We, as well as being sad for Grosjean, we are sad for you as well, F1 fantasy players out there.
Definitely, yeah.
But if you still have Grosjean in your team, it is your own fault. So
it is at this point.
We're not that sympathetic, actually. So shame on you. Okay. Well, yeah. So we should go. All right, guys. And now the main one we're looking forward to this weekend is the German Grand Prix. We are at Hockenheim, Sebastian Vettel's home Grand Prix, Nico Hülkenberg's home Grand Prix. That's probably gone under the radar. Vettel obviously being a more high-profile team. People probably pay more attention to that, especially as last year he went into the barrier. Oopsie. So, Zach, what would you reckon would be a good fancy pick going into this weekend. Obviously, we haven't seen any practice sessions yet or qualifying, so we're going in blind a bit, but I think you can probably predict the top two.
Yeah, well, not just the top two, but I reckon you're safe with obviously both Mercedes, but I reckon you're safe with your McLaren drivers as well. I would hold on to them if you had them. They are going nowhere from my team at the moment. Yeah. Any thoughts on Carlos Sainz and Lando Norris?
I've got both of them in my team, and
Perfect.
the McLarens have just kind of gone up into that top field. There was actually a really good piece. I'm not sure where it was on. It might have been like RaceNet UK. Had kind of detailed the actual updates of why McLaren had gone ahead of Renault aerodynamically since the Spanish Grand Prix. Power unit wise, Renault are probably a little bit better than the Honda engine at the moment, but go from there. But yeah, I think on track, especially how Sainz and Norris are performing, they're pretty safe bets, I would say. My one that I'd probably be tempted by looking at the top teams, I have a Leclerc in there. I might be tempted for Verstappen this week if I can figure a way to get in there. My gut feeling says Verstappen's going to have a very good race this weekend.
Yeah, I am with you on that one. Now, obviously, last week he missed out on the 3 points extra for finishing ahead of your teammate. That was his first time this season, obviously, that he missed out on that one. But that was purely because of the Vettel incident. So I think you're safe. It's pretty much safe to assume that Verstappen will finish and qualify ahead of Pierre Gasly.
I agree with that. As much as Pierre had done well at Silverstone, Silverstone was a track that he'd won in FP2 and he felt comfortable in. I think Hockenheim normal service will be resumed.
I agree. And so, even though we had a great, much more respectable performance from Gasly last week, and of course Gasly is the most expensive driver that you can turbo, I would still be put off turboing him because of the fact that I just, as we agree on, we don't think he's going to beat Verstappen in either qualifying or the race. And so for that reason, I'd be more tempted to turbo a McLaren driver, as McLaren and Renault are probably the next best choices other than the reliable Raikkonen.
Yeah, for me, it would be between Danny Rick and Carlos Sainz. I think they are. So as much as Lando's having a fantastic rookie season, I think Carlos Sainz has just edged him on race day. Obviously, admittedly, sometimes it hasn't been Lando's fault with some technical difficulties, but Carlos seems to be very good, and well, he certainly finished best of the rest for the last 3 races, I think.
Yeah.
In terms of turbo points, at least.
Yeah, that is a fair analysis. That he does seem to have more race pace. But can I try and persuade you?
Oh, go on then, Zach. Persuade me.
So Lando Norris, although yes, he lacks the race pace, or he's had race incidents, whereas Carlos Sainz seems to power through and flies up the grid. His qualifying has been very consistent.
Yeah, I felt that was coming.
Yeah, but I've got even more to it. His qualifying has been so consistent that his last 4 qualifying sessions, he's finished in the top 10. He's made Q3 the last 4 times, which of course means he's on for a streak. So it's only 5 extra points, but if you have him in your team, for me, it's an obvious one to turbo, because if he can finish top 10 qualifying again, he gets not just 5 points, but because you're turboing him, 10 points. And that's why I'm going to have both Carlos Sainz and Lando Norris in my team, but I'm going to go with Lando.
Very nice. So Carlos is not on a streak in race wins. Did he have his
no?
streak?
So I'll break it down for you. Carlos Sainz is on 3 for a streak, 3 runs for racing and 0 for qualifying, because he missed out last time out. I think he qualified P13, I want to say. Not sure on that one, but he definitely missed out on the top 10.
I believe he qualified P13,
Mhm.
but I believe there was a penalty, so he actually started the race in P12.
Right. No, that's a good
But
point that you bring
you
that
are
up, because
you are right that he finished outside of the top 10.
yeah. So just to clarify for everyone listening, though, if you say you qualify, so let's say Carlos Sainz qualified P11, but then someone in the top 10 had a grid penalty, so then Carlos Sainz starts the race P10, even P9, wherever, you still miss out on that streak. He's still not made Q3, so you're still just going to get the points for P11. You don't get any benefits from Carlos Sainz moving up on the grid, unfortunately.
Does that work the reverse way? So say Magnussen qualified in P7 and he got a 5 grid penalty and then went outside. Would he still have got the streak points? Not that Haas are doing particularly well. Probably a bad example of a team to
Example,
use.
yeah.
But say he was, they've got their act together. Would he still get the points for getting into Q3?
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. So I actually had Kevin Magnussen, because I just got rid of him on a wild card, and this actually happened. You can help me out here and tell me what race it was, but he qualified P5, but he had a 5-place grid penalty down to P10. Okay, so that's still actually inside the top 10. But the point is, I got all the points for him qualifying P5, so I still got them points, and then I didn't lose anything.
That was Austria
on the race.
But
It was Austria, yeah, that's correct.
There we go. Bang, knocked it out the bag. I mean,
and then of course, yeah, nice, good memory there. And of course, on the race, he had a false start, or slightly moved up on the grid position.
Then he had to have a drive-through penalty, didn't he?
Drive-through penalty, and it just got worse. It all went wrong from there. And did he retire or did he bring the car home? I can't remember, but I did not get a nice score from him in the end, even though I got good qualifying points. I didn't get a good score from him in the end.
See, look, there you go, and you're missing out on the Rich Energy thing. That's where Magnussen actually finished behind George Russell in that race, and that obviously it happened where they were like, we're meant to be competing with Red Bull. We shouldn't be finishing behind Williams Racing. This is not acceptable. We are ending the sponsorship. We're not ending the sponsorship with Lightning Volt, but Rich is still going, because I saw on Twitter today that they were promoting a boxing event, and I don't understand what's going on. So God help anybody else understand what's going on. If anyone can tell me exactly what's going on at Rich Energy, maybe Rich Energy themselves, I would be happy to kind of clear this up. Haas going about their business quite blasé, so maybe we should take the Haas approach and just go, let's just race.
Yeah. Haas doing a great job of ignoring the classless clowns, if they can only be described as.
Oh, I think that's a fair assessment of Mr. Williams' story.
Yeah. Anyway, back to fantasy. Back to the
we got distracted. Quick, get back. This is the fantasy show, Zach. We're not talking about general F1. Why would you do that?
Of course.
Me do
that. Okay, so I'll just run through anyone that's on a streak. So Hamilton and Bottas just recouped their streaks, so they're reset 0. So we're only looking at streaks for when you get to 5. 5's the magic number. Vettel, he recouped his qualifying streak, but he missed out on his race streak. So again, he's reset for both. So ignore the 2 Mercedes and Vettel. Leclerc, however, he is on 4 for both race and qualifying. So absolutely beautiful if you have Leclerc in your team, or if you have an easy way to maneuver him in, go for it.
It's a very easy decision for me deciding to keep Leclerc this weekend instead of switching in Verstappen. Thank you.
He
will definitely finish within the top 10.
Yeah, you would think so, wouldn't you? I would be surprised.
Power unit, reliability issue / puncture / Verstappen crashes him out the race. Mad Max turns.
Well, they have been having some tight, hard racing recently.
They haven't,
so it's not out of the question. Yeah, exactly. But no, I think you're safe with Leclerc. It's not super desirable. I wouldn't be like desperately maneuvering my team around to get him in, because you can't turbo him, so you can't double up on the streak points. but still 15 points can't be ignored added onto a driver's score, because you'd assume Leclerc would finish decently and get a nice amount of points, let alone the 15 points as a bonus, really.
And he will be within top 5. I expect
Mm-hmm.
Red Bull to be ahead this weekend because
Yeah.
there's quite a lot of corners and quick corners around there, and obviously the apex as well. So I think the downforce come into play, and obviously the Ferrari with their low downforce setup, although there are the kind of straights there, I don't think the straights are really long enough for the Ferraris to capitalise on the advantage of that. There's maybe that one long straight down to the apex. 10-3, 4 maybe, I'm not sure. I think like 10-3.
Mm-hmm.
Could be making up. There is a turn near the start of the lap that's an apex.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So
you find out what the corner is. Comment below.
Please do, yeah, definitely. So back to the streets real quick. We summarised Mercedes that they're not getting any streaks. Ferrari is a flare on both. For the Red Bulls, no one's getting a streak this week. Gasly's on up to 1 in the top 10 for qualifying and 1 for the race. Verstappen, if you had Verstappen last time out, then you would have been disappointed, obviously, with him finishing behind Gasly after the incident with Vettel. But it wasn't all doom and gloom because he did finish in the top 10. He got his race bonus. So that was a nice, tidy 10 points for you. So that means that's reset now. He's up to 3 for qualifying. So he's not going to get the 5-point bonus this time out. But if he keeps it clean and finishes another top 10, you'll be thinking about that next week, where he could recuperate that. Renault's nowhere near a streak. Haas obviously nowhere near a streak. McLaren's Sainz is on a 3 streak for the race. So if you've got him in, as we said, wouldn't be getting him out because you could look to turbo him out. He probably will be the best turbo option once it comes to Hungary. And Lando Norris, he's on a qualifying streak, as I said before. So that's 5 points there. So that's why I'm turboing him this week. Rest of the grid, we've got Toro Rosso. They're going to struggle to get streaks. Racing Point and Williams, can't see them getting a streak ever.
I mean, I feel, the F1 fantasy game should be willing to adapt. I think the consistency of Williams finishing every race is an achievement in themselves. I mean, they should get the taking part award. But joking aside on that, actually, there was, I think I shared it on Twitter, the F1 app gave an article on their Tech Tuesdays of actually Williams were the closest they have been all season to the next slowest car, and obviously closer to the pole position lap to anything. So they are moving in the right directions.
Yeah, definitely.
Fingers crossed they can catch up with the rest of that midfield.
That is clear evidence of improvements. So yeah,
and
I'm hopeful.
In fairness, if they did somehow manage to get competitive in the midfield and even point scoring in the second half of the season, George Russell would be a great pick on fantasy because he racked up a load of points, hasn't he?
Yeah, and he's not. You say that Williams need a taking part bonus, but they kind of don't, because you said they consistently finish no DNFs all season. That is good for fantasy because they are reliable. Because if you do DNF, like Haas did both drivers last race, you hit with a big -15. You're not getting that with George Russell. Plus, George Russell consistently every single time out beats his teammates. So that's a nice 2 points in qualifying, 3 points in the race.
He is out
qualified as well.
Kubica in every race, and only finished behind Kubica in one, which I believe actually was Austria.
Yeah, and that's why George Russell is a serious option, despite driving in a Williams, which is going to be competing at the back of the grid, at least for now, at least. But he is an option.
There's probably it's quite a good point, because obviously we've been going on a little bit more about point scoring and who to have, very much assuming that everybody knows what we're on about.
Mhm.
Maybe we should probably go through a structure of how the point scoring actually works. That we're talking about kind of points for finishing above your teammate. So that
Yes.
is
Okay.
why George Russell is such a good, or has been such a good option if you had him from the start.
Okay. So I'll run through a bit of a points breakdown. So start off with qualifying. Now I'll just read you it here. It's in the rules. If you do not qualify, you get a -5 points. That's very rare, normally, as I suppose that would only happen if there was a big incident in FP3 for the driver and they couldn't get the car sorted in time. I guess that would happen, but I don't think that's happened this season.
Not this
Pretty
season.
sure.
It
No.
did happen last year, but
Hmm.
not this season.
Yeah. So
Has
assuming that
happened in
doesn't
Monaco
happen.
actually. I could have
Oh,
been wrong there.
that is a good point, actually. Yeah. Yeah, he might well have. Yeah. Well, anyway,
We've drifted
assuming,
apart again. Back
yeah.
on task. Come on, stay focused. We're getting the points through. Come on, here we go. Points.
Assuming your driver does turn up for at least Q1, you will get 1 point. Even if he doesn't progress to Q2, you get 1 point from him. So that's 1 point pretty much locked in.
Taking
If he,
part point.
yeah, exactly. If you progress to Q2 but not Q3, so anywhere from 11th to 15th, you get 2 points. If you make it into Q3, it's 3 points. Not much there, but that is what it is. And then lastly, it's just qualifying ahead of your teammate is 2 points. So obviously, if you have both, say Lando Norris and Carlos Sainz, only one of them is going to get that. So you've not got the maximum potential there, but it's
And
not the
that's
worst thing in the
probably
world.
showing where, before we just go on, why George Russell has been such a good pick was
Mm-hmm.
because he's getting 3 points out the blocks before the race starting, and we've only had one race this year where all 20 cars have finished. So naturally, you'll explain the bonus points for kind of overtakes in a race, but he's also been moving up the grid from his position, always gaining. So he then gets the race bonuses for finishing above his teammate, and then the overtake points, even though he hasn't technically overtaken, they've just crashed out.
Right, exactly. Yeah, I'll come on to that more in a minute. Yeah. So just last thing on qualifying. If you qualify in the top 10, you'd also get more points. So from 10th, you get 1 point, all the way up to first, you get 10 points, and you can fill in the gaps in between. 9 points for second, 8 points for third, and so on. So that's all you get in qualifying. Now onto the race. For finishing the race, you get 1 point. But if you don't finish the race, so if you're not classified, then you lose 15 points. It's a heavy price to pay. So you want to get them consistent finishes. Also worth noting, if you get disqualified from a race, which again, very, very rare, that's a -20 points. I think it should be even harsher than that, really. I think it should be at least a -30. What do you think?
I mean, the way that drivers are instructed nowadays, can you remember the last time anyone was
No,
disqualified?
they're all so professional. Yeah, I can't remember. No.
No, so it's almost just in there for, so you could make it -100 because it's just not going to happen. And
Yeah,
then
why not? Why
the
not?
poor soul, say someone like, who do we reckon on the grids would get disqualified? Uh,
Oh, it's
Esteban
harsh.
Ocon takes over from Grosjean halfway through a season, and then has a fight with Verstappen again and gets disqualified.
Oh, Verstappen was the instigator there. I think that's harsh on Esteban.
Yeah,
But
that's true. I watching the Netflix documentary. Ocon actually does seem a very decent bloke.
oh
Unlucky to
yeah,
lose that
definitely.
Force India seat, actually.
Yeah, yeah.
Anyway,
Well, I suppose
back again. Point scoring system. We're
right.
talking.
Yeah. So if you finish the race, that's 1 point. If you finish the race ahead of your teammate, that's 3 points. So combined up with the qualifying, that's a potential of 5 points there. If you can get someone that consistently finishes above your teammate, i.e. George Russell does that consistently, Max
I.e.
Verstappen,
Max Verstappen. Yeah.
consistent. Yep, exactly.
Verstappen's been your big point scorer, really, hasn't he? If you had Red Bull
Yeah.
doors, Gasly's going to get his game together, and Vettel's going to crash into Verstappen more than maybe Gasly's man. But
yeah, but we also saw at last race out at Silverstone, team orders take place at Red Bull as you would expect. So that's another plus point to Verstappen there in finishing ahead of his teammate sense. Next we have position gains and positions lost. So it's a little bit more complicated. This, if you qualify P10,
yeah,
and you finished a race, and I should state, if you start on the grid P10, because it's not necessarily about where you qualify, it's about where you start on the grid. I'll come back to that again later. But so let's say you start on the grid P10 and you finish P4, you've gained 6 places, but you can only recuperate a maximum of 5 spots. So that would be 10 points you get, because you get 2 points per overtake, or per position gained, I should say. Just to clarify, so if you started on the grid P10 and you got P9, you just get 2 points from that.
perfect. Easy, isn't it? By the way, all these are on the F1 Fantasy official website.
Yeah.
So if you struggle with us, with my constant detours, it is there in plain sight for you to have as well. Zach does very good. Try and keep things on track.
I try. But it is good to see it in front of you. So yeah, if you go onto the options bit and click point scoring, it's nice to have it all there in front of you as well. Just to go back to the positions gained, you also can lose positions, of course. So you will lose a point per position lost. Again, it's a maximum of 5. But if you start within a top 10, this is a bit harsh. So if you start within a top 10, you lose 2 points per place lost. So and that, again, it's a maximum of 5. So you could have the potential of losing a -10. So going back to when I had Magnussen earlier, and I was all excited because he qualified P5. I didn't feel the loss of his grid penalty, because you don't feel the loss of that in fantasy. So I was thinking, oh, that's okay. P10, he might gain a few places and get me even more points. But no, of course, drive-through penalty and everything else, and he finishes P18, maybe P19.
I think it was P17.
Okay, P17. I'm sorry, Kevin. Very sorry. P17. But either way, if it was P15 or lower, I lose 10 points there off my total score, because he loses 5 places and he started from the top 10. Very harsh, but they are the rules.
They're the rules. You've got to abide by the rules, and you should know by now, do not pick Haas. They are having a terrible season.
Yep, exactly.
Hopefully
Okay.
they can figure it out, though, in tuning. They
were
very keen last year. They pushed Renault close for that 4th in the constructors. And now, obviously, they're languishing down in 9th, so that's quite a drop off.
Yeah, you expect more to come from them.
Certainly do. So I think that kind of sums up the point scoring.
Yep. Two last things.
Yeah.
It has been added a couple of races ago. Fastest lap now gets you 5 points, so that's nice. Ooh. Nice little update.
Actually, I remember me and Zach speaking about this probably about maybe a month ago, and it was like, how do you not get points for fastest lap? You get it in the championship.
Exactly.
Why don't you get it in fantasy? And look, they've listened to you, Zach.
I know. I got way too upset about that.
You complained, didn't you?
Yeah.
Did you write a strongly worded letter to the FIA?
strongly worded email.
This needs to be in the fantasy. It needs to reflect the real thing.
Exactly. That exact tone of voice as well.
Of course, yeah. That was actually a recording of Zach, not me. But that was my Zach impression, everyone. It was really good. Great.
And lastly, point scoring. Back to point scoring. Of course, so if you finish first, you get 25 points in the driver's standings, just like that you do in fantasy. 25 points, 18 points for second, and so on, all the way down to 10th place, getting you 1 extra point as well. I think that's about it. Oh, other than streaks, but I already touched on them as well.
Yeah, we did run the streaks quite extensively earlier. So, I think we should probably go through who we are going to have in our lineups this weekend in fantasy. We'll put them up on the screen for you guys, so you can look. I'll start off with my team. So I have, well, last time out I had Charles Leclerc, Bottas, Ricardo, Norris, and Sainz. I did have Kvyat, who actually probably would have been better than Norris in that race because Kvyat was one of the big winners from the safety car. But I just look at Lando Norris and I see him as like an investment of he's the cheapest driver and he's been doing so well in qualifying, and the McLaren car is in such a good position right now. Yeah, I just go, it seems stupid and his price is going to go up. Maybe I think we rumoured about maybe their values might go up at the midway break. So that might be the time to kind of invest in Lando while he's cheap now, and then cash in, and then you can spend money on a more expensive driver later on in the season.
Mm-hmm. And this is a perfect week to do it. As I said earlier, he's on the streak for qualifying. It's only 5 points, but if you're feeling brave enough to turbo him, it could be 10.
Exactly. So I look at my team, and like I said, the only thing I was maybe debating is whether I could get Verstappen in for Leclerc, but I think with Leclerc's streaks on the line, I think I'm going to stick with what I've got.
Yeah, makes sense.
I'm not going to change up this week, which makes a change. I usually do something and try and go bold with a -10 hit, and it backfires in some horrible way.
Yeah.
But on to your team, Zach. What have you got planned for this weekend?
Well, unlike you, I'm going to make a big change because I did a wild card last week, got in Vettel, and I'm disappointed.
Yeah, I mean Vettel backfired for you.
Yeah. So I want to run away from that as fast as possible and run straight into the loving arms of Charles Leclerc.
Oh, well, he's a sweet little boy, isn't he, from Monaco?
He is.
He's a very nice man. I mean, Verstappen has woken up an angry side to him.
But it's kind of sexy.
It is a little bit, isn't he? He's a bit more firm, authoritative, isn't he?
Yeah.
I mean, you can keep your Leclerc fantasies to yourself there, Zach. I don't think about that. But...
Wrong kind of fantasy. Yep.
Oh,
so
F1 fantasy. How did that work? Oh.
Hey, yeah.
Zach's F1 fantasies of the drive. We've gone off topic again. Look, your team. Look, come on, stay your team.
Okay. My team. So my team, as of last week, was the trio of Hamilton, Bottas, Vettel, which is rare. I tell you why it's rare, because when you have Hamilton, Bottas, Vettel, or 3 premium drivers like that, you can't afford a premium constructor. So my current constructor is McLaren. And I went for that. I wildcarded that in last week because they're on a streak. I know I keep just going on about streaks. Everything I mentioned goes back to streak. Chasing the streaks, exactly. And he didn't.
Zach actually has a problem with the word streaks. He must fit it into his sentences. Like every 5 words, there must be the word streak in it.
Yeah, I've got streak Tourette's.
Oh, well, there you go. You got it.
I was going to make a joke, but no, right. We've got to stay on point. Okay, so yeah, I have
no
Hamilton.
Jokes. There is no laughter in here. We are very serious. This is a serious
show. Hamilton, Bottas, Vettel, Lance Stroll, and Lando Norris, along with McLaren as constructors, is my team as it stands. I'm looking to take a big 20-point hit, which I don't recommend, but I'm going to take a 20-point hit to fix up my team because McLaren, Vettel, it didn't work out. It was a fun little adventure, but it didn't work out for me. So I'm going to.
And sometimes you got to play bold to make gains in the championship, Zach.
Yeah. Sometimes you play with fire and you get a nice suntan. Don't think
exactly.
That's how fire works, but
you got burnt horrifically.
I got burnt. Yeah, I did. Wanted a suntan, got the scars, but hey ho, you move on, you go again. So my 20-point hit will be to get rid of Hamilton and to get back in Mercedes. But obviously that requires 2 moves. So I'll go Hamilton down to Sainz and McLaren up to Mercedes. So not really much of a switch, just like a swap around kind of thing, really. But why I'm doing that is because when you have Hamilton and Bottas, yes, you have both Mercedes drivers, and that's nice. But if you have, for example, what I'm going to have, Bottas and Mercedes, or what you have, I should say, you've got 3 lots of Mercedes there, because as Mercedes you have both of them, Hamilton and Bottas, and you've got Bottas again doubled because you've got him as a driver. So 3 obviously better than 2. So that's why I'm making a swap. So I hope that made sense. So yeah,
it makes sense. It's a smart move. You're trying to copy me because I'm brilliant. It has
exactly. Fine, I'll give you that one. But that's just the -10. Where's the other -10 coming from? Well, that is, of course, coming from Sebastian Vettel, but I'm going to swap to his Ferrari counterpart, Charles Leclerc, and that's my moves.
Chasing the streak.
-20. Chasing the streak.
The Lando streak, the Leclerc streak.
Yeah.
Tune in next week to find out whether the streaks paid off for Zach.
Brilliant.
I mean, I'm quite impressed. I mean, do you want to tell the people listening about your streak spreadsheet, that you've taken your streak obsession to new levels?
Absolutely not. That is for my eyes only.
No. Well, no, I wasn't asking you to share it. I was just, sharing the fact that you have one.
Nope, I don't know what you're talking about.
Okay, all right. Zach's insecure about his streak sheet right now. It's not something he's comfortable with. It's going to take time. We're going to kind of coax it out of him. We've all got to be here for Zach, guys. He's got a streak problem. For the first stage to kind of fixing a problem is admitting that there is a streak problem, Zach.
I'm actually banned from going to F1 races.
Oh yeah.
I've got such a big streak problem, but I just can't help myself. Run on a track streaking.
Oh right, yeah, that type of streak problem. All right. Oh, fair enough. I thought you had a good time at Barcelona this year. Clearly, you had too good a time.
Definitely.
Right. So that is where we're vaguely kind of angling this all together with some kind of branches to this tree as we go along. So that's our look at thing. Oh, we did talk about who we were going to turbo this weekend, didn't we?
Yeah, real quick, I'm turboing Lando Norris, and you're turboing.
Yeah. I'm gonna. You almost tried to convince me about Lando. Nah. I was feeling Carlos, Danny Rick, or I'm gonna go with Carlos. I'm gonna stick with my Spanish man, Carlos Sainz.
It's interesting. See, so one of us will surely be happier than the other because one of us is going to finish above the other. They can't both.
It is. This is now serious. This is direct competition.
I like it.
From there, well, are we as this is the first of many F1 fantasy weeklies to come. Should we? So we have a league. But what my idea is, Zach, I haven't told Zach about this idea, so this is a live reaction. To go through it. As we go week by week, we have our league, but we're going to say me and Zach are going to have a mini league within the league. So we're going to see who wins each thing, and we'll keep a tally in each week's show and see who comes up top, and see who by the end of the season is on top within us. Obviously, with you guys listening, we'd welcome you into the league. But seeming as we just start this channel at the British Grand Prix, it would be pretty difficult if people wanted to join halfway through. So it's better just to kind of wait until
hey,
next
how about
year.
this? How about this?
All
If
right.
there is just even one person that says, "Hey, I want to get involved," we'll make it so that you do get involved. So comment below, and you
Okay.
could be the lucky chosen one.
We are all inclusive here at F1 Fanatics. If one man wants to join, one man will join the fantasy league.
Exactly. No man left behind.
Woman, I won't be sexist about. Sorry,
Well, no woman left behind.
No man or woman left behind.
Exactly.
I think we covered that from there. But yeah, how do you feel about our head-to-head rivalry week by week?
Well,
I am up our little fancy scoreboard every week.
Definitely, yeah. I am extremely competitive, so I'll be fighting tooth and nail to win this.
Fantastic. Well, guys, if you haven't been convinced already to tune in each week for F1 Fantasy Weekly, then I don't know what's going to convince you, because a head-to-head, this is going to be like Prost and Senna in the late 80s. This is going to be like Alonso and Schumacher in 2006. It's going to be like Nico Rosberg and Hamilton 2016.
I was about to say that.
Have we got Mark Webber and Vettel? When was the most close? 2013, was that their closest year?
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll go with that. Yeah. Basically, we are a great F1 rivalry. We are probably on a par with those names in the sport, if not higher. I might have overstated it, but let's roll with it.
Understated. In fact,
in a couple of you know what? Yeah, understated. Definitely, we're bigger. We're the biggest thing in F1 since F1 was created.
Undoubtedly, yep.
I think that probably covers everything we need.
See, that's what you would think, but you're wrong.
Oh,
I've got one more bombshell for you.
There is the F1 Fantasy Bombshell of the Week. Yeah, I've now said that might be a weekly thing, but I don't know.
I don't know how we're going to find a bombshell every week, but you've said it now.
Yeah, we're going to come out with a special bombshell.
Yeah. Okay. So now we touched on this before we hit record, but I've got a bombshell for you. You don't know what it is yet.
I don't.
So we're going to get your live reaction now.
Complete surprise to me. Live reaction. Cool.
Yep. So you would have noticed on F1 Fantasy a little button called Wildcard.
I have, Zach. I have noticed that wildcard, and in fact, Zach, I've used that wildcard.
Okay, well, this is a smaller bombshell than I thought then. Have you used it on both your teams? Because you have two teams.
Oh, yeah, I've used them on both my teams.
Okay, well, that's ruined then. Okay, well, maybe this is for a viewer out there somewhere, or someone listening wouldn't have used a wild card. If you haven't, you have until the Hungaroring, the Hungary GP to use it. Otherwise, it will be lost. Good news for you. I've got a bombshell for you, Bo, Mike.
All right.
You'll get another wild card.
Last was a disappointment. That was just a little shimmer. Awesome.
You've got another wild card, but you don't get to use it until after Hungary.
Damn. I've lost it.
Oh, but that's okay, because you like your team at the moment. But maybe after Hungary you won't. You've got a wild card.
I was debating actually a week or two ago whether I take the minus 40 or 50 point hit that it would take to change my entire team and go Lewis, Bottas, Mercedes, Kubica, Kvyat.
Yep. See that? Well, I would recommend, if you do have a wild card still in your pocket, obviously you want to use it either for the German GP or for the Hungary Grand Prix. Otherwise, you will lose it. Use it or lose it. And if you are using it, you know, Mercedes so strong at the moment. Why not? Why not go for the triple up? Hamilton, Bottas, Mercedes. especially if you've managed to make money on certain drivers. Lando Norris, Danny Kvyat, they've gone up in price since the start. George Russell's actually flown up in price since the start as well. So if you have made money on them kind of drivers, and you can afford them three, Hamilton, Bottas, Mercedes, what you should be able to, even if you haven't, you should be able to afford them still. But it's just however much money you've made will improve the last three drivers that you own. So yeah, that's what I would recommend if you are going to wildcard to Mercedes triple up. But I don't know. You do you. Everyone should be themselves.
Yeah, you do you guys. You pick who you want to pick. If you want to have a team of Lance Stroll, Grosjean, Magnussen, and Haas as your constructors, with a turbo driver of Gasly and Vettel, yeah, go for it, guys. Yeah, do you?
Exactly.
Don't enter our league, but do you? No, I'm sorry. No, definitely do it because we'd beat you. Or what? No, that could be twist of the century. God, Lance Stroll has a strong finish. Haas sort out all their tyre problems and point score for the rest of the season, becoming best of the rest in the second half of the season. And Vettel runs Hamilton close to the title by winning every race from Germany to the end of the season.
Yeah, don't say
Yes,
myself.
no, that was one of them might come. No.
You lost me.
I think we should probably honorary mention. So, as you can tell, me and Zach are quite active week by week in thinking about our fancy, a bit like fancy football. You know, you got to see, you got to try and get ahead of the trend, try and pick in a driver that you think, or pay attention to Zach's horror word streak. You've got to see if the streaks are about. But actually, the guys at the top, Zach, could you go on? Actually, do you know them off by heart? I think I know them off by heart.
If you know them off by heart, you start reeling them away.
So I don't know how far below, but I know at least the top three all have exactly the same team. And that is, they had Hamilton, Bottas, Mercedes, Kubica, Russell, Kvyat, and they have not changed their team since the start. So it kind of spits in the face of me and Zach, who are tireless trying to work and score points and do well in F1 Fantasy, and they just picked it at the start, and they are sitting top of the world right now.
Yeah, see, this is why if you're a neutral, you've got to be rooting for Ferrari and for Red Bull.
Exactly. You got to stop these guys winning. They can't win with not being proactive. Also, I'm going to say, just like in fantasy football, you would not be able to pick like the three best players in the game. I suppose you could and have a terrible team around them, but I suppose you do sacrifice. But the fact that George Russell's worked out and Kvyat's not been terrible, you're not really hindered that much, and because they are so overpowered, they've kind of made up points everywhere else, haven't they?
Yeah, I suppose what in football fantasy you don't ever get it where, let's say, Salah and Aguero get 30 goals each, but then third highest scorer gets 15. It's just not the case, you know. It's more rounded. Whereas in Formula One this season, at least, Mercedes have been so far ahead of everyone else, but it's hard to not join the bandwagon there.
Yeah, I suppose it's a problem because I suppose last year it was closer, and we did have more race winners. The race winners between the big three of Red Bull, Ferrari, and Mercedes. It was kind of split early doors between Hamilton and Vettel. Obviously, Danny Rick got in there as well, and Verstappen obviously finished the second half of the season very strongly as well. So
yeah,
it's very much. It was a gamble, probably, because I don't think probably predicted them to do it, but not probably as easily as they've done it compared to the rest of the team. So fair play, I guess, but it makes a mockery of us. So maybe, guys, just pick a team and stick with it and ignore everything we say.
Maybe, probably. But there are some grounds to be made up on from the top guys, because you can't turbo Hamilton, you can't turbo Bottas, and you can't turbo a constructor or Mercedes. So, and turbos get you double points. So, just looking at number one in the world, for example, he turboed Sainz last week, paid off great for him. That's why he's number one in the world. But he's not got much choice. He's got Sainz and Kvyat and not much wriggle room money-wise to play with. If he sticks to Hamilton, Bottas, Mercedes, he's not got any room to play with, and you see that in his third driver, which is Robert Kubica. So that tells you all you need to know there. But he's not got the money to play around with. So if you do have a Lando Norris and you see he's on a streak, why not turbo him? Try and be different from the top guys. Try and beat him.
Certainly, make up points, can't you, for that?
Yeah,
and it just makes it more fun. What's the fun in picking a team and then coming back in like 7 months' time and seeing, oh, okay, 100th in the world?
Yeah.
No fun. Boring. Boo. Be exciting. Exactly. Be bold. Take minus points like Zach.
Well, sure. Be bold, be exciting, but most importantly, be you.
Yeah, that's we're also F1 Fantasy, a promoter of self-development as well.
Exactly, precisely.
Perfect. Right, that probably, as a first show, or we're calling this a kind of podcast kind of thing. This probably rounds it off quite nicely as the first F1 Fantasy Weekly.
Yeah, I'm excited.
I'm excited for this venture too. I hope you guys listening are excited for it as well. If you like what we do, give us a thumbs up. Comment on your fantasy picks, fantasy ideas below. Or if you think that our ideas about fantasy were absolutely terrible and you would like to completely change them, please let us know as well. We're open to criticism. We are not experts. We are just F1 fans who love getting any bit of action of F1 that we can. And don't forget, guys, walk over to the subscribe button so you can stay up to date with all the videos. On Thursday, we will be releasing our race preview for Hockenheim, and then over the weekends there will be updates from practice on Friday, qualifying on Saturday, race reaction on the Sunday, and then a new feature on the Monday actually will be driver ratings, so look forward to that one.
Nice.
And then our race review should come out on the Tuesday, and another F1 Fantasy Weekly should come out next Wednesday for you guys. We should make Wednesday the Fantasy Weekly day. That's a quick heads up to what's kind of going on. Guys, hope you like it. Stay tuned to everything. Zach, thank you very much for your appearance on the show. Hope you've enjoyed.
It's been a pleasure, yeah.
Your El Stato influence is always welcomed. And
thank you.
Enjoy the race this weekend. We'll have a chat about it next week. Well, next week's exciting. We get to do a kind of review of what happened in the fantasy on Sunday, and then look forward to Hungary because it's back-to-back Grand Prix.
Yeah, no, I'm always hungry for a back-to-back Grand Prix.
Yeah, you had to go there, didn't you? Anyway, as we like to say on this channel, guys, F1 fans out there, keep
racing.